He can tell you all about their first dance, but he can't remember her name, and she's his daughter. Today we're about to embark on what will likely be one of the most important discussions we've had in a while. And joining me today to talk more about this is Dr. Leigh Johnson. She's a lead investigator for the Black Alzheimer's Brain Study. And Patricia Bailey. She's a caregiver coach, which she ages well. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. As we talk about this Black Alzheimer's Brain Study, let's unpack this by first of all talking about Alzheimer's versus dementia. What's the difference between the two?
Certainly. Well, dementia is a global term to describe a group of brain disorders that are characterized by decline in life. Alzheimer's disease is a specific progressive brain disorder, and it's the most common type. And it's characterized by memory loss and decline in thinking that impacts your day-to-day activities. And it gets worse over time, and symptoms, changes in the brain happen 10 to 20 years before symptoms start.
Wow, 10 to 20 years before symptoms start.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So as as we're going through our day-to-day activities, sometimes we lose a train of thought, we forget a certain moment or something. Should we start thinking at that point that maybe we should start looking into seeing whether that trait runs in our family or what have you?
Well, so forgetfulness is normal, especially with how busy and stressed we all are. But if it starts to impact your daily life, like forgetting where you are in familiar places, or not being able to do small change in your head. So it's things that you could do before and now.
All right, we're going to unpack that a little bit more in just a moment. Patricia, I want to come to you because, again, we're talking with you today. You're a caregiver coach, but it all started from your own personal story of caring for your mom.
Absolutely, Chris. So Mom had Alzheimer's, in which she was diagnosed in the latter 90s. And what's interesting is that today we're talking about 2.2 million African Americans are suffering as a result of Alzheimer's. So was unpacking issues associated with memory loss. I remember when it became real for us. I remember my mom trying to fix a meal, and it included a hot dog and a microwave. That's a classic example of what transpires, and then the family has to step in, of course, to make a difference. Mm-hmm. This disease is impacting us in ways that is unheralded.
Yeah. When you talk about impact, I mean, my mom didn't quite suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's, but just being a caregiver for her in her latter years, first of all, one of the things you have to do is you see that your income decreases and your expenses increase because you have to take off work, things of that nature, in order to be able to take care of them. Talk about the impact on your family.
So I was blessed in that I had a lot of care and assistance from my siblings. Okay. But the impact of it financially is that personally, as I was that executive type, actually the care cost me personally $3,300 a month for over 2.5 years.
Wow.
And that's just one aspect of it, because as you spoke to jobs, I was traveling 52 trips a year calling on major retailers. So now how exactly do we take care of Mom? What do we do to make sure that her care is in order and that she's safe, etc.? It's bigger than I was prepared for, what our family was prepared for, and I'm sure there are caregivers suffering with it right now. As a matter of fact, there's over 1 million caregivers in Texas alone.
Wow. You talk about preparation. Dr. Johnson, I want to come back to you because part of this brain study is to help us to be able to identify early signs of this thing in hopes that the family can probably better position themselves to be able to take care of that loved one. So let's talk about, first of all, what's the cause of Alzheimer's? Have we figured out what that is at this point?
So Chris, we know there is not one single cause. Okay. We believe Alzheimer's is the result of many causes. So there are certain things that increase your risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. One of the first ones is age. Your likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease increases as you age. Gender, genetics, family history, hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, uncontrolled diabetes, stress, depression, inflammation, all of these things are part of the picture of why someone develops Alzheimer's disease.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. So Pat, now coming back to you and talking about the impact on your family, once your mom did get the diagnosis, I guess were your family able to do anything to kind of help maybe stop it from progressing even faster than maybe it had at that point?
Well, the alarming fact is there's no cure for Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And I recall being there, all of us, the siblings were there with Mom when we got the diagnosis. And she was not happy with what was transpiring, because the thing that happens is, imagine one day people trying to say, there's something wrong with your brain. There's something wrong with your mind. And my mother was a bank teller for over 18 years. And so managing money was her thing. And so now she can't balance her checkbook. Now she's not keeping records. She's no longer, quote unquote, her nickname, which is neat. It was so pervasive and so unsettling. We were so unprepared. And this is the reason why we've got to address this issue of Alzheimer's, to be able to look at the conditions and know when there's cognitive decline. If they're doing anything that is counter to their typical behavior, there needs to be a discussion with the physician. But for my mom to say to me one day, they're trying to say something's wrong with my mind. And that even made me say, can we find another way in which to use language? You're still my mom. We got you on this.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Wow. You know, I guess you raise an interesting point, because many times what we'll do in the family, if so-and-so starts to lose their mind, oh, that's just so-and-so, girl, they're losing their mind. You know, we'll just throw that out there and just put that seal on them. But rather than rallying around them and getting them the support and the help that they need. So let's talk about this study and why it's important that African Americans, Black folk, we actually get involved in this study to get the help that we need. So Dr. Johnson, what's the purpose of the Black Alzheimer's Brain Study?
Well, so we know that Alzheimer's disease is the result of a person's unique biological, genetic, environmental, lifestyle factors, and all of these things are influenced by a person's race, ethnicity, their gender. Right now, less than 5% of African Americans are enrolled in research, and this lack of representation is really impacting our ability to fight this disease and to create solutions for Black families.
Yeah. So and now, Pat, of course, you know, you and I are sitting here. We've just heard it. We don't trust research and studies for that.
Yes.
But let's unpack this some more today, because this is a very serious topic, and this is a very serious issue that we really have to figure out a way to get more folks involved with. I'll yield to you, and what's your assessment of why we don't get involved?
So let's deal with the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
We are still, after so many years, talking about the Tuskegee trials. And I want to recognize that there have been things in our country that has not obviously been favorable for us as Blacks and African Americans. But this is today. And one of the things that I'm particularly impressed about with the UNT Health Science Center at Fort Worth is these are physicians and doctors that are collaborating. The other side of it is this: who exactly should I trust today? Having an opportunity to meet people who've had their life work centered around trying to address the conditions of tackling this particular disease, to understand that there's 6 million people addressing that's actually part of the disease state of Alzheimer's right now, to understand right now that in Texas there's 1 million people in caregiving, and that as it relates to African Americans, it's 1 in 2 families. I trust this process, this no drug study, and the opportunity to collect information for very simple reasons. I need to do this for my mother.
Wow. Yeah.
But I also, because that means that we have to count on each other to be part of the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. You said a couple of things that I really like. First of all, it's a no drug study. You're not going to administer any drugs, anything of that nature. And for the second part to that is, this is not a fly-by-night study.
No.
This is something you guys are going to conduct over a period of time, so folks will have a chance to become even more educated, things of that nature. Talk about the steps. So I decide I want to learn more about the study and possibly become a participant. How do we go? What's the steps that they will go through?
Well, so first our staff will call you and do a brief screening just to make sure that you are able to safely undergo all the procedures of the study. If you're able to be included in the study, you'll come in and do a interview, brief memory testing, a blood draw, an MRI of the brain, and a PET scan. And you are able to get the results of these examinations back as well. And then you're asked to do this every 24 months.
Every 24 months. So we're not talking about something that you're going to have to do for 6 weeks, every week for 6 weeks, and then that's it. we're talking about a long-term commitment, but it's every 24 months. You said something there about they get the results of the study. They can also then, once they get those results, take them back to their own personal physician or a physician of their choice to make sure that they're following along with them. Is that correct?
And if they choose, we'll even send that for them. So
to their physician.
Right. Absolutely.
I like that. Now, we talk about a commitment of time, because many times we feel like we don't have time. I don't have time to be participating in the study because I've got to work. I'm going to lose money off my job, things of that nature. It is my understanding there's a compensation with this one. Talk about that.
So everyone's compensated for their time. It's not tons of money, but it is something to make it worth your while, and you can go out to lunch afterwards or something like that.
Yeah. I guess it's my understanding, guys, when you come in, it's what, a couple of hours at most?
So generally, you come in for the interview and the memory testing, and that's a couple hours, and then you'll do a additional visit to do your MRI, and then another one to do your PET scan. And really, it's just so you don't have to sit in a scanner all day.
Okay. Let's talk about who's the prime candidate for this particular study. Who should we be looking for?
So right now, we're looking for anyone who's 50 and above.
Okay. So we're not necessarily looking for someone 50 and above who's having memory loss, things of that nature. It's anyone 50 and above.
We need to study people with and without memory loss if we're going to figure out what contributes to it. And we have to study people over their lifespan. We can't just study people once they have the disease.
Wow, that's good. You look like you're ready to say something there.
You know, so what's interesting about the concept of time? The average time a caregiver will actually be in an active role with their parent after diagnosis can be anywhere up to about 15 years on average. That's 15 years times 365 days, and these are the days that are the longest days of your entire life. To think that this study would have been available during my mom's time, I would have taken however many days to be a part of the study, because that time of that 7 years with mom was so precious.
Wow.
My thinking is, we have time for what's important in our life, and to give time for a cure.
Very well said, very well said. I want to come back to you real quick. The answer, I guess, what is it we're looking to have come out of this study?
We want to understand the unique profile. So Alzheimer's disease is different for each person. And right now, DFW is representative of what our nation will look like in terms of our ethnic distribution. So we want to make sure that we can understand the impact of Alzheimer's disease, no matter who you are or where you're from. What is your unique risk, and how can we create solutions for you and your family and create treatments that will work for you?
Okay. Is there a limit to the number of participants you're looking to have to be a part of the study?
So we're looking to have 3,000 participants in this study, 1,000 non-Hispanic whites, 1,000 Mexican Americans, and 1,000 African Americans.
Okay.
So this will be one of the most comprehensive Alzheimer's studies in the country.
And while we're based here in Fort Worth, you guys are not limiting those folks to be from Fort Worth?
No, as long as you can travel.
Okay. So if they were to come in from out of state, another city, just be prepared to possibly stay overnight?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to add that maybe I failed to ask?
I'm just really very proud to be part of this initiative. UNT has donated $7 million for this Black Alzheimer's brain study. This is part of our commitment to developing healthy solutions for our community. And I'm just so proud to be a part of it. I'm so proud to have such a great partner.
Oh, thank you. Same here.
Oh, that's such a touching moment. No, Pat, as we get ready to close this out, seriously. It was a very touching moment.
And it's true and it's honest.
He better get the pillow.
And you can very well tell.
Exactly.
You
Get
can
the
very
pillow.
well
Get the
tell. That
pillow.
was very genuine amongst you two. It's good to see that you guys are working so well together, because you got so many thousands of people who are going to be taking part in this study.
Yes.
And this, again, is for the long haul.
This
is, you know, I say that because, again, I want folks to understand that you really want folks who are going to commit to that every 24 months for however long it takes to get the answers that we need to be able to help African American and Black families that are suffering. So
Yes.
I want to ask you, what would you like for folks to do next? After hearing this information today, what would you like for them to do as a caregiver yourself?
I want them to do it for Big Mama. I want them to do it for Daddy. I want them to do it for Pawpaw. I want them to call that phone number, that 817-735-2963. I want them to have that emblazed on their heart. I want them to visit the blackalzbrainstudy.com site and know that there is more than just signing up for the study. There's resources there if you're actually a caregiver. I want people to know that they now have, here at home, the power to change the future.
Wow. Well, thank you both. Thank you both for the work that you're doing. And I want to certainly encourage you to go to the website, get the information. Again, have the conversation with your family. Don't just say that's so-and-so and she's losing her mind or he's losing his mind. Help them to get their mind by becoming part of this brain study, and help us to really gather our community around this topic, because it's something that's extremely important. We've seen it throughout the years, but we hadn't had the help and the research and the things that we need to really help us to get our hands around it. Here's an opportunity for us to do that. Take advantage of the information, take advantage of the opportunity, and thank you so much for watching.